Through the specific policies he used, as well as his general appeal and understanding towards peasant life, Mao was able to consolidate power within China in a more effective way than Stalin had in Russia. During the Long March of 1934, Mao displayed substantial leadership skills and developed a title as a distinguished political and military leader. According to Lucien Bianco, Mao deserved the leadership of the party conferred upon him in Yan'an. The first threat to Mao's power can be seen with the return of the 28 Bolsheviks, a group of communists who had been trained in Moscow during the 1920s and sent back to China with instructions to make the CCP conform to the Soviet Union's concepts of revolution. According to an article by Ian Buruma, Mao's initial task was to make every Chinese subservient to the Communist Party, which he accomplished during his exceptional participation in the Sunyi Conference. It was at this meeting that Mao was also named chairman of the CCP. 15 years later, in 1950, Mao introduced the movement to suppress counter-revolutionaries to help him thwart ongoing rebellions during early CCP control. An article published by Encyclopaedia Britannica asserts that the campaign dealt violently with many former leaders of secret societies, religious associations, and the GMD. During the anti-campaigns, which included the 3 Anti-Movement of 1951 and the 5 Anti-Movement of 1952, Mao aimed to extinguish any and all remaining groups that posed a threat to his power, specifically capitalists and bureaucrats. Ian Buruma asserts that the categories defined within each of these movements were significantly vague, that anyone who got in the way of party bosses could be fingered as an enemy of the people. Victims of these ongoing campaigns were either subject to struggle sessions or sent to the Laogai, the Chinese version of the Gulag that was said to be more cruel. According to Lucien Bianco, the relentless determination to remold consciousness, heal the patient, and purge his reactionary thoughts made the Laogai way worse than the Gulag, which explains why many of Mao's victims chose to commit suicide. As Mao began to notice the increasing dissatisfaction amongst party members and intellectual citizens within China, he made the decision in 1956 to invite members to openly express their concerns for the current government in what became known as the 100 Flowers campaign. Although the campaign initially went as planned, many members began to overtly criticize Mao, which led to him abruptly executing them. Li Fenan believes that the campaign was an appeal for criticism that also sought to undermine the bureaucrats that had come to have too big of an influence in government affairs, whereas Vez Chevray believes that the campaign was a part of Mao's plan to reassert his authority and to destroy all opposition that was not previously eliminated through the anti-campaigns. Regardless of which interpretation is accurate, it is clear that in the end, the campaign was utilized as a mechanism for consolidating power. In comparison to Stalin, it is obvious that Mao was much more efficient and strategic with the techniques he employed to eliminate opposition and evidently save many more lives than Stalin. While Mao used collectivization as a plan to increase industrial and agricultural production, Stalin used it as a ploy to eradicate opposition. According to Lucien Bianco, Stalin used collectivization and dekulakization as a means to prevent a suspected Ukrainian separatist nationalist movement from eventually relying on peasant soldiers, thus taking many more lives in comparison to Mao, who was more focused on the economy. Additionally, Stalin ruthlessly sent individuals to the Gulag, often without any justification and solely on the basis of his own paranoia. The article, comparing Mao to Stalin, states that the president of the Republic of Kalinin begged Stalin to liberate his wife, who had spent 10 years in the Gulag, and it wasn't until Stalin died that she was finally released. In conclusion, Mao's campaigns and political skills enabled him to eliminate opposition with more precision in comparison to Stalin.